interesting details. Next thing you know, I'm asking this person all about their lives. And they tell me the most intriguing, interesting details. And I'm thinking, I have got to put your story down for posterity. I've got to record you in the studio so that other people can hear about you too. So, last week I interviewed this young man, and his story was so interesting. We recorded it in the other studio here at Public Media Network. And before I knew it, we had run out of time. The whole hour had gone by, and I said, we have to do this again. We have to do a part two. So I wasn't even going to have a show this week because I got a busy schedule, but I knew I had to bring him back. Mr. David Gakodi.
Yep.
Gakodi.
Yeah, Gakodi.
Gakodi.
You got it right the first time.
Got it right the first time?
Yeah.
I've been rehearsing.
Mm.
I've been practicing. David is with us again today. Last week, David, I was just so into your story. I know I kept interrupting, and I wanted to look at some of the footage from it, but I can't look at it until they upload it.
Yeah.
So I remember some of the stories that we talked about. I know most of your story was about how you grew up,
Yeah.
about moving here and
There.
there and everywhere,
Yep.
and all the experiences that you had. And I want you to recount some of those things quickly,
Yeah.
and then we can come up to the present. Because I know that you are what they call a concept artist.
Yeah.
And I want
That's
to
what I went
talk
to school
about
for.
that. That's what you went to school for.
Yep.
I want to know about that part of your journey. But just bring us up to date. Just recap a little bit.
Yeah. So, I basically grew up in a lot of different places. I don't really consider myself from anywhere, but I belong to a lot of places. So I get a little bit from here, a little bit from there. It starts in Boise, Idaho, and then I move around the Atlanta metro area. Then I move up here to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and that's where I am today.
And you also spent time in New York.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So when I was younger,
Yeah.
I would visit my grandma a lot, and we would travel, every once in a while over to see her or over to see just sightseeing and all that. So it's a lot of fun. I think even one time, my grandma, she knew someone at Sesame Street, and she was like, she told my mom, like, hey, you should take them. We're gonna go to the studio. They can meet Big Bird and Elmo. And me and my little brother at the time, we go there, and we see Big Bird, and and that was the biggest.
Up close and personal.
Up close and personal, and he was big. I loved Big Bird and Elmo and
Yeah.
all that, but I didn't realize that like they were like this big, and I was a little kid. And I'm looking
Oh.
up. I'm like, I'm scared.
Oh, how old
So we
were you?
could-
Do you remember?
I don't. I was pretty young. I must have been pretty young. I don't remember exactly how old, but young enough to where Big Bird was very scary to me. Yeah.
That is so cool. Not a lot of young people get that experience. Your grandmother was quite a trailblazer.
She was tapped in. She was
Yeah.
tapped in.
Now tell us again. Tell me again. She skied.
Yeah.
She-
She skied. She was a lawyer. She was publishing some books. Up until when she died, she knew French. I believe she knew Lingala, which is like a Congolese language, if you want to think of it like that, similar to French.
Yeah.
She was a big fan of education and learning. She did a lot of things.
Do you have any idea how she became the woman that she was? I mean, she was for her time. That was
Yeah.
really something. She was writing books. She was
Remember,
skiing. She was a
yeah.
professor. Did you say?
I don't know. She wasn't a professor.
Okay.
She was a lawyer.
A lawyer. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. A lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Higher. Yeah.
Well, in some ways, I mean, she was like I believe it was like a defense attorney.
Yes.
And
And she was practicing in New York.
I'm not. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure where she was doing her practice. Um, I did. I do know that she went to school around Virginia, the
Uh-huh.
Virginia area.
Uh-huh.
But where she practiced, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because for me, I almost came at like closer to the end of her story when
Okay.
she's already became.
Yes, yes.
So it's for me, it's hard to know
Mm.
the becoming.
Oh,
But a lot of
your dad would know a lot
my
of
dad
that.
would know.
Yeah.
And he tells me bits and pieces, but like it would always be in a random time, like, oh yeah, she. It'd be like, I'd ask him like, oh, grandma's about the age where like, she could have marched. Did she march? And he was like, yeah, she marched here and there. And I was like, what? And it's like, yeah, no, she was
Yeah.
marching in Martin Luther King. I was like, oh, okay, well that's nice. But it's like
We
he
need
just
those
says that. I know.
stories. I got to get Dad on the show. Where's Dad now?
Where's Dad right now?
Yeah.
I think he's at home. He's like
But I
sleeping.
mean, he's in Kalamazoo.
He's in Kalamazoo. Sometimes
Okay.
he's around. He travels for work essentially.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm having an event on, well, remind me
Okay.
of the event that I'd like you and your dad to come to.
Yeah, no problem. I can ask.
Okay.
Of course.
Wonderful. Okay, so you move all these places, have all of these experiences,
Yeah.
going from one school to another. So you say you don't consider yourself as being from a place, but you're a part of many places.
Yeah.
A lot of places still reside in you, and
Mhm.
all of those places combined made you added to the person that you are today.
Yeah.
When did David start coming into his own, realizing what his dreams were, and start pursuing your dreams? When do you think that seed developed?
That's an interesting thing. I think because I didn't I didn't have a place I was just sitting there and
Mhm.
like I can't really trying to figure out the words for it, but because I wasn't just locked in one place, I had a lot of time to think about like myself and like who I wanted to be. Because every time I'd move, I'd see new people,
Yeah.
and they would be different from the last people, and then I'd see new people, be different from the last people, and so like, in a way, the opportunity expanded.
Mhm.
But I think what happened was I started to realize that I needed like a purpose, I guess, a reason for being. That like just I don't know, even like as a little kid, just existing
Mhm. Mhm.
was kind of boring. And then I didn't have like some of those like nice distractions that you have as a little kid, like
Yeah.
like trying to be the best on the baseball team or trying to make these friends or do that.
Oh, yeah. You
which
didn't
is-
have a lot of peer
Right.
pressure because you weren't
Yeah.
really a part of any groups.
Not really.
Okay.
Which was nice, and had its faults, but
Mm-hmm.
it made it so like I did a lot of like, well, let me see what I like, and then I would try an activity, and I'd be like, oh, this is boring, or this is kind of fun. And around third grade-ish, I had to repeat it, and so I was really, really bored. I mean, I was doing really well in for most of that, so I spent a lot of time drawing and just doing a lot of art because it was like, well, we had a little library. I can make these little comic books. It's
Okay.
really fast. I don't need to pay attention to class because I know everything. I've already done my multiplication tables. So
You knew
yeah.
all that. So it was, oh
Yeah.
gosh, I can hardly imagine having to sit every day and do
Mhm.
the same thing you did the year before.
Oh,
Did the teacher try to inspire you or give you extra work or see that you were mastering these skills, so let me try to push him in another direction?
I mean, it was no, because it was a regular. We had at that point we had like gifted classes, and I was in a
Mhm.
regular class, and so
Mm-hmm.
even though in a lot of ways I was excelling, like she can only do so much while teaching other classes, but like she taught differently. So like
Hmm.
remember when I was in her name was Miss Edie. We were watching like Schoolhouse Rock, and I'd never seen that before.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is nice. And she was like, oh yeah, this is when I watched this when I was a little kid. So I got really into that. but most of it was things I knew. So it's like spent a lot of time just drawing in class.
She
Uh,
wouldn't say anything.
no, because it was like I was passing everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
what
already
could she
knew
say?
it. Yeah.
And you weren't being disruptive,
No.
so that was a very good thing.
No, I was a very unproblematic kid in school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I didn't quite latch out then. For whatever
Then,
reason. No.
did there come a time when you did lash out? I
Um
find that hard to believe.
Not in school. Maybe
Okay.
like with my parents, just kind of you get older and you're like,
Okay.
I want to do things my own way.
Oh, tell me about that. No, no. So
Yeah.
you matriculated from elementary school, and was it at that time that you realized kind of what the spark was in you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you're a kid, they always asked you. I think at that time especially it was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I don't know. And then, I did that extra year, third
Yeah,
grade, and I was
yeah.
like, well, I like this drawing stuff. And every time I read a book, there's an illustrator or illustrated by.
Okay.
So I want to do what that guy does. And so, anytime anyone asked me, hey, David, what do you want to do? It was, oh, I want to be an artist.
Okay.
Yeah. Though I feel like some kids, they got the, like, oh, you want to be an artist? Either like we're very supportive or like, you can't do that. I got the in between where it was like, I guess, sure.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
yeah.
like, I didn't quite get any art supplies, but like they didn't bother me when I was like trying to draw. So it kind
Okay.
of, it let me do my own thing.
Your parents.
Yeah, my
Okay,
parents, my mom
okay.
at the time.
Okay.
When I was a little older,
Right.
she she was a little bit more like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure you want to be an artist? And I had to like really push back and
Okay.
kind of be like, no, this is what I want to do.
Now,
and
what did
so-
your mom do?
What did my mom do for work?
Mm-hmm.
She was like a nurse.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
You told me that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was a nurse, and sometimes I'd like come to her at work, and I really didn't want to be a nurse or like be in the medical field. Just like being in the hospital all the time felt like, I don't know, too much pressure. I
Prison?
guess. Maybe it's a little
No.
too sterile.
Yeah.
A little too like
yeah.
like
Day in, day out,
day in,
same thing. Sick people.
The hours are terrible.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like I remember she would come out home late. She'd be
Mm.
sleeping all day.
Mm.
She'd be tired.
Mhm.
A lot of that time was spent like sort of being raised by like my aunt or my grandma because she had to work.
Yes. Yes.
So that was kind of tough.
But that was kind of the trajectory
Yeah.
for women.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the time, and
For
for
sure.
still for a lot of women, it is to get into the medical field
It's very
or
good.
the teaching field,
Right.
education. So yeah,
Yeah, and I mean a lot of it seems like a lot of Congolese people in general get into that. Like my cousin, he's training to be a nurse, and my aunt's training to do something in the medical field, and my aunt on my dad's side is like
oh
a
boy,
nurse. So.
okay,
And
steady,
then my grandma was a nurse. so-
security,
Yeah, it's,
yes, yes.
It's good work.
And so,
Mhm.
if you want to diverge from that trajectory, it's
Right.
like, what's wrong with you? What did we do wrong?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, should I really feed this passion?
Right.
Or
Yeah, can you
he'll
make
find his
money?
way. He'll come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because there's only like so many fields you can go in. It's like
Uh-huh.
it can be sort of medical field or like doctor, lawyer, maybe engineer, and then everything else is like yeah. So to make money, I don't know, that kind of stuff. But we I mean, I'm still doing it, so
Cool, cool. And you're still happy about it.
yeah.
That's what's important.
No, it's been a really great time. So on the journey of
Yeah.
Of that, I went to after high school.
Uh-huh. Well, how was high school?
Oh,
What was high school
I
like?
shouldn't skip over that. But
Yeah.
high school was tough because I think there's a point where you're sort of like, well, can I do this? And so a lot of high school is just like, well, what other things would I like to do? And so,
Mm-hmm.
middle school and high school, I got into band and music. So I played drums, percussion, marimba,
Mm-hmm.
vibes, like, that kind of stuff. And I got really into music. I think that would have been probably if I wasn't an artist, I'd be like a musician and then
Nice.
also not make any money, but
But you
I mean,
combine the
fun.
two.
Yeah.
You could combine the
You
two. You
can.
never know.
Yeah.
I would not say no to anything.
No.
Just like your dad told you,
Hmm.
oh, you wanna create something on the computer? You got your own computer. Figure it out.
Right.
Play with it. So you never know.
No, exactly.
Man.
I mean, I don't mind taking a gig or two.
Yeah, yeah. I was in
Mhm.
Brazil. I was in Rio, and I went to the Rio Art Institute
Mm.
and saw that there was an exhibition on soul music,
Yeah.
and the way it was put together was amazing.
No, for sure.
With videos and pictures, animations, and things coming at you,
Yeah.
and 3D. I've never seen anything like that.
That's great. That reminds
Yeah.
me of like the beginning of bossa nova because bossa nova and samba it starts because of the women of Bahia.
Uh huh.
It's like a state in Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably already know, but um, a lot of the women up there they came from slavery.
Yes.
Black women,
Yes.
and so they're mixing the sort of beats of like the motherland of Africa
Mm-hmm.
with what they're hearing from the states from other
Mhm.
black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're creating samba and then bossa nova.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I think very much like jazz, it sort of gets whitewashed very early on.
Gets co-opted.
Mhm.
And the only thing we know, I was introduced to it by Sergio Mendes in
Yeah.
Brazil 66.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, oh my God, this music,
right.
it feels
Mhm.
fabulous because it's connecting with that
Right.
part of me, that I did not
Yeah.
even know
Mhm.
the foundation of. And you telling me this is an education. Now I just
Right.
want to go get on the computer. Thank goodness for
Yeah.
the computer. And I want to learn more about it.
It's so
Wow.
familiar, and then
It
even
is.
with Sergio, well, I think there was another artist that was a cover of when he did Mais Que Nada,
Uh-huh.
if you know that one.
Yeah.
It was a
Mas
cover.
que nada, será minha frente que eu quero passar.
Yeah.
Pois o samba está animado, o que quero é samba.
Este samba.
Este samba que misca de maracatu.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
But that part in the beginning where he's like, Oba, Oba,
Oba,
Oba,
Oba, uh-huh.
it's actually Yoruba.
What?
It's not Portuguese. Yeah. It's like that, because it was a cover of someone else, and he was referencing the sort of, we come from Africa. Actually, funny enough.
I think I could live there.
Oh, Brazil's so nice.
You've been there?
My brother went there.
Oh.
He's been telling me stories, and then my friends from Brazil.
You got friends from Brazil here?
Yeah, I do. My professor, actually the one that was teaching me concept art, was from Brazil.
Yeah.
Friends from Brazil, so it's great. Funny enough, from what I've heard, and this is just from what I heard, I could be wrong, but
It's okay.
a lot of the African descent from Brazil comes from actually like Angola, Congo, that area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's weird in a way, like there a lot of the people like I could be in some way related to
Yeah.
distantly, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's interesting that different countries took
Mhm.
slaves from different parts
Yeah.
of Africa,
They
maybe
did.
because they were closer, the other places had been mined, and
Well, Portugal actually had they were the first Europeans to have
right, true.
arrived in Congo, Angola, that old area,
Uh-huh.
and they actually had talks, like a relationship with the Congo Kingdom at that time,
Uh-huh.
and so the Congo Kingdom was kind of in
Mhm.
that Angola, Congo area, which is
Yes.
why so many Congolese and Angolans at that time
Yes.
were brought to like Brazil, essentially.
They
Um,
first went to Portugal, and
no, they went straight because
they
it's
went
like
straight to
because
from Portugal to I see to the Congo to
yeah,
Angola,
to
and
trade, and then
then
they traded those resources
went
for
on
people.
to
Yeah,
Brazil. Okay.
because it's really close
Okay.
because they're around the equator. You could
Yeah.
get there
Yeah.
fairly easily.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You know, you're
Yeah.
going up, you can take a little stop and then. But yeah, that's a part of it. Even I realized,
So
or
interesting.
I've heard a story recently from my grandma. Weirdly enough.
Which one?
Oh my! So this is my mom's mom.
Okay. Okay.
And my grandma's always been really light, but I never
Uh-huh.
really questioned it.
Uh-huh.
Cause like I live in America.
True.
A lot of people are like her shade and
Uh-huh.
black, and they're black, right?
Uh-huh.
There's not really a question about it.
Right.
But that's not the same way in Congo. I didn't realize it, and so I met my grandma's sister, and so I met her before, but I never really questioned it. But what I realized was that she has sort of gray blue eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and I was noticing other things like, well, my grandma's really light, my mom's lighter, and why is that? And so I asked my grandma, she's like, oh, I don't know. And then I asked my aunt, and she's like, oh, I don't know. And I don't know, my grandpa said like, oh, we're from Egypt. I'm like, I don't I don't know about that, grandpa. But then I guess I hypothesized, and then it was later confirmed by my aunt that like, oh yeah, like my grandma's grandpa is like Portuguese, and probably maybe more than just him because both of her parents are very light as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I don't know, what that makes me.
Part of the history. You
Yeah,
got to do
but-
that. You got to do that.
Yeah.
23andMe
23.
or
Yeah, I didn't think I had to. I thought I was like, I'm good. I already
no,
know.
I think you got to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it one day.
Mhm.
I have an ancestry and all that. I just
Yeah.
haven't screwed my courage to a sticking place.
It's
Not
important
ready
to know,
find out.
but
It
it's-
is. It's
It's
important.
also like, I don't know, because the Portuguese were very, they have done a lot of not great things in sort of
Mhm.
the history of slavery.
Mhm.
So it's a weird feeling to be like, well, you're related to almost the original enslavers. I'm like, that's a weird feeling. Yeah.
But it's a part of history.
It's a part of history.
It's a part of
Yeah.
history, and when we try to take things out of the context of
Yeah.
history,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel about this, but
Yeah.
when I hear about different events, I hear about different people, I try to also think about the times
Yeah.
that those things happen, the
Mm.
mores, the thinking, the just the general culture of the
Right.
time. Because if I try to impose my
Mindset.
2025 mindset and
Mhm.
understanding on that time,
Right. Mm.
is that fair? So what do you think about that? I mean, humanity should be humanity, and
Right.
everybody should be treated equal. That's a given,
It's a given.
I think, but
Mm.
not everybody acts that way.
Right.
And when money becomes involved,
It definitely makes things more
it
complicated.
makes things much more complicated. I just don't think it's as simple as extracting,
Yeah.
just carving
You're
out
here
that
and
part
therefore you're
and
this,
saying,
yeah.
and then making judgments, all these strict
Mhm.
judgments about it. So I know it's a conversation.
Right.
I know it's a debate. I think about it.
That's fair. I think you have to. I think it's important. I think you said something about acceptance in terms of like this is something like I wouldn't be here without that. So that's one thing. But the other thing, I think it's also like a fair thing to be fairly sort of like apprehensive about it. I read this book by Octavia Butler called Kindred.
I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in my, I think it was Afrofuturist class, and you know, it's talks a lot about how like she has to protect her slave owning ancestor so
Mm-hmm.
that she can survive, but she also understands that this person is not, he's a terrible person. I mean, he's a slave owner, and he does terrible things to her great, I guess, black ancestor as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Um, and I think it makes me relate a little bit more to, I guess, Black Americans as well, because
Mm-hmm.
I can also see how like there's a complicated history of race in this country. As I've been here my whole life, so
Yes.
we all know. But it's what's more complicated is when you even have 1%, I guess, of I guess that I guess white DNA, because in some ways, I guess in that way, in some ways, in a lot of ways, you're victimized by it, but in other ways, you wouldn't completely be here without it.
Without it.
Yeah. So
So
I don't know.
how for my thing is,
Yeah.
well, a part of my thinking, because I'm always thinking
Yeah.
about it in some way
Right.
or other, even though I try to focus on exactly what I'm focused on,
Yeah.
whether it's writing a play or whether
Mm.
it's in my rehearsals or in my interaction when I'm working in the schools
Yeah.
with the children, whatever, it seems to seep in through everything that we're walking this tightrope. We
Yeah.
have a balancing act. It's like we're on a tightrope and we're trying to balance
Mhm.
both of these. You know, the tightrope walker has this rail and
Yeah.
he's trying to keep it balanced. And as black people, we're trying to keep our
We're trying to keep it
history over
balanced.
here and
Yeah.
our now over here while
Yeah.
we're looking toward our future. And if we
It's
let
sh-
any
someone's
one of
shaking
them go,
someone's shaking the rope. It's like,
right?
I really
So
don't
you're
want this
trying
guy
to,
away.
so you're really trying to stay.
Yeah.
But look how far we've come.
Mhm.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
we're making it. We're
Yes.
moving towards it
Oh,
slowly. But we're moving.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the journey. You know,
Yeah.
you were talking about your journey, and we're getting back to that.
Yeah.
We keep
For sure.
digressing, but we're moving
But
forward.
in high school, I was exploring other things. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to see if I could be like a game designer or
Uh-huh.
programmer, and I realized, I think as a kid, they're like, you should learn how to program and code, and I was like, I did it long enough to be like, I can't do it. I can do it. Just I get really frustrated.
Oh,
The sort of problems you have to solve in code are just
yeah.
not fun problems for me, because it's like, oh, so the syntax is wrong, or like you forgot this function, um, or I don't know, memory leak, or you've done something wrong and now your computer's on fire, and
Oh my gosh.
so I mean, not really, but you get my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, so it's a lot of little inputs. And if you go all the way here and there's a mistake back here,
Yeah.
then this is not going to be right. So
Yeah.
you got to come back and trace it all the way back. Is that
Yeah,
how it
kind
works?
of. I mean, one little thing can take you down. So I wasn't very interested, and
Yeah.
so I came back to like drawing and doing art, because I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I was having a lot of fun doing that.
Hey, yeah, yeah.
And when I was a senior in high school, my art teacher, Miss Carter, gave me a little gouache set. So I was messing
Oh.
around with that. I got a little drawing tablet. Right, I think right as COVID hits,
Uh-huh.
so I got a little drawing tablet, and I'm like, well, I got a lot of time, so I start doing that. I get a,
Nice.
I get a little bit better at digital painting, um, and I was thinking a lot about what school I wanted to go to, what university,
Uh-huh.
and Western was, I was like thinking about Western, but I wasn't excited to go, just because it was like, I don't see like if they have the kind of art program I want.
Oh, okay.
I think I applied to K, but I was just like, I might as well just apply to K. And then I was choosing between, do I apply to Michigan or do I apply to State? That was my
Uh-huh.
thoughts. Um, and I think to this day, I hate to say it, Michigan doesn't have like as good of a, uh, uh, the program I went into at MSU
Yes.
was games and interactive media,
Uh-huh.
and Michigan essentially doesn't have that.
Oh.
Or I don't want to be like, skewered by like a Michigan fan, but I don't think they have like that specific program, and State did, so I went to
Okay.
State.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So
Good.
yeah, no, I get into I apply and I get in really
Uh-huh.
easy. I think early
Good.
I was like, whoa, they really want me.
Were you able to take advantage of the promise?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is so fabulous.
got about, like,
Wonderful.
75%.
Oh,
So it's pretty good.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is more than would have thought, I guess. And I go to State, East Lansing. It's a strange experience because like it it was a lot. It was a lot wider of a space
Oh.
than high school was. I went to
Oh, yeah.
Kalamazoo Central, and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I think Kalamazoo Central was like majority black or like
Okay.
pretty black.
Yeah.
Um, and State was not majority black. Like you had
More
to,
like Montana?
or Idaho.
Idaho. Idaho.
Maybe. I mean, I don't remember Idaho, like the people besides
Uh-huh.
my family and like maybe my neighbors.
Okay. Okay.
So it was weird. I didn't know how to function
Uh-huh.
in like a predominantly white space,
Okay. Mhm.
which made it a little difficult in some senses. Because
Okay.
like, I guess for those white people, I was maybe their first black person that they met,
Mhm.
and so a lot of that was, a lot of it was like
Still, that's
little
hard to
microaggressions.
believe these
Yeah.
days.
And then just
Yeah.
some of that was just aggressions. I was like, oh, okay. And then, well, the classes were great, I would say.
Uh-huh.
Two notable professors I had were the Brazilian professor I was mentioning earlier. His name was Ricardo Guimarães.
Uh-huh.
He is the concept artist at MSU,
Ooh.
professor.
Mhm. Mhm.
He still works in the industry, and a lot of that was just like a lot of the class, you'd be surprised how much like our classes are more like philosophy and thinking.
Ooh, I love that.
Because
yeah.
you're an artist, but you're more of a designer. The function is like your characters need to fill a certain purpose.
And they need
They do, yeah.
do they need a backstory? Do that would come through
Mm,
in the design of
Yeah.
in your
yeah. So it's like
that's how it
you're-
is in theater as a
Yeah.
writer. Yeah.
It's like that. You're designing the character, and every element that goes in is supposed to be the story.
Yes.
So I think a good example is like Mario, where like if you ever notice, he's very round. He's
Yeah.
very like plush, and because of his roundness, it kind of makes him more friendly. It makes him more
Oh.
like you're warm to him. But he's like a middle-aged man. Like when you think about it, it shouldn't work. But because of how round his features are, he has chubby cheeks and this round
Yeah.
head, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have any hard edges anywhere. If you ever notice, everything's
Okay.
round or a circle or something. It gives you this playful, bouncy sort of aesthetic. Whereas someone like Sonic, he's very sharp.
Right.
He's very like angular. He's supposed to be more cool, right? And that's those like little things. Like at best, you're not supposed to think about it.
I love it.
Mhm.
I love
So
it.
it's a lot of that. And then my
Subliminal.
messaging.
Yes.
Yeah, it's everywhere, really.
Everywhere in
Mhm.
advertising,
Yeah.
even in the colors in the room,
Yeah.
they indicate something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Ooh.
And he was great at that. And I learned a lot with him. And my other professor, his name was Andrew Dennis.
Uh-huh.
He's been there a long time, and he's one of them, but he's the 3D artist professor
Mhm,
essentially.
Mhm.
I think we got a second one now. I think my senior year, but he was the only one at some point. And a lot of him, he also did a lot of thinking. A lot of that class was, we're in like programs like Blender and Maya,
Uh-huh.
creating buildings and like objects and even characters. But more so than that, we're thinking. You know, I took this animation class with him,
Uh,
and he's talking about like how to throw a punch in like a animation sense. That there's like with every motion, there's this idea that first off you have you ever watch like Looney Tunes?
mhm.
I think Looney Tunes is a good example. When they're gonna run, they turn back. They go back,
Yeah.
and then they kind of hold it,
Yeah.
and then they do the action,
Right.
and then when they're stopping, it hangs out. They move a little forward, a little farther than where they're gonna stop, and then they slink back
Yeah.
because it gives that feeling of like motion and
Okay.
inertia,
Mhm.
and you want people to kind of understand the flow and anticipate what's gonna happen a little bit. You don't want things to just like happen.
It's just start and stop.
Yeah, you want it
Just
to.
go. You want it to. This is the bridge
Right.
forward. This is the wind up, and then.
Right.
But it, okay,
You like
that
that,
is
yeah.
so interesting.
And it's all these.
Who would think that all that went into this?
Well, our artists have to think about these things.
Oh my
And so,
gosh! Yeah.
you know, I had a bunch of great professors, and I took a lot of classes there.
Yeah.
You know, some of the classes I never even really thought would affect me in the way it did was
Oh.
a lot of my triple AS classes.
Triple
African.
AS.
Yeah, African and African American studies
Okay.
classes.
Oh, triple AS.
Triple
Okay,
AS,
triple
yeah.
AS. Very
So,
good, because
yeah.
we had those, but we didn't call them that when
We
I was
call
in
it
school.
all different things.
Cool.
But you know, that was really a little gem, a little diamond in the middle, like a middle of a haystack, really. You know, great professors over there. I had a professor named Dr. Struthers. Sometimes some of these names are,
Uh-huh.
but Dr. Struthers, who was my professor for like 2 classes, I think. But like those 2 classes really taught me a lot about performance, and we did a lot in terms of like Black history and like kind of understanding what did Black people offer. Maybe offer is not the right word, but what did we do in this country, and how we did it and what we affected. For example, I think we don't often think about the Black contributions to science fiction. Like there was a point in which people didn't feel that Black people even wrote or liked science fiction, and you had people like I mean, Octavia Butler is the one I like that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
I think is Samuel Delany is another one. They're like these big science fiction authors that you see
Yeah.
later in the 20th century who like show that like no, Black people are thinking about science fiction, but not in the way that white people are.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
for Black people, it's our utopias are different and our dystopias are different,
Yeah.
and even the way we're thinking about time is not the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. There's the community in Chicago that a friend of mine is a part of, and they're, oh my God, they put on a film fest about just what you're talking about.
Is it like Afrofuturism?
Afrofuturism,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Floyd Webb. I don't know if you've heard the name,
No, I don't
but
think so.
he is so into it, and he always has these film fests in Chicago. While I was there, I would go to a few, and
Yeah.
I was always so impressed
That's nice.
by some of the films. So there's an underground
Yeah.
of, and I shouldn't even call it an underground now, but there are movements. They might
There
not
are.
come to places like Kalamazoo,
Yeah.
and
Well-
but it's up to us, I feel,
Mm.
to spread the word and get people
I mean, we
here.
do got a train
Sorry?
to Chicago. We do have a train to Chicago.
We do have a
coming,
train to
so,
Chicago, but I think there are enough people
Mhm.
here that we could do something.
Yeah, we could carpool, I think.
No, here.
Oh, do a film
Do
festival in
something.
Kalamazoo. Yeah,
Something.
we could. Yeah.
Yeah,
think
why
so.
not?
But even before that, I think what's
It,
so
it
notable.
wouldn't have to just be a film
Yeah.
festival, but go ahead.
It could be anything.
Anything.
But I think a lot about how Afrofuturism has really rised up to the mainstream. Movies like, well, even like Sinners a little bit, or Black Panther. Black Panther especially, where like that's something where like they're putting in theaters here in Kalamazoo or
Yeah.
anywhere, and you're seeing it really challenges this idea that Africans and Black people as a whole are like simple-minded and, you know, brutish. That no, we can actually be scientific and even more advanced than the people around us. Way more advanced. We're the ones maybe controlling the resources.
Yeah.
There are scenes in that first Black Panther movie that I think back to. I'm like, like that's crazy to think about. I was in London, for example, and
Oh
I
wow.
really wanted to go down to like where they keep all the African artifacts, and
Yeah.
they closed it that day. But I kept thinking, like, you know, they really have all
The
this
British
stuff.
Museum, the British
The British
Museum
Museum,
of
yeah.
History. I was there. I went
Mm.
there. I saw some
Yeah,
of
they
that.
closed it the day I was
I
coming.
saw
They
some
knew I was
of
coming.
that. Ah! I first went there in 1983, I
Mm.
think it was, and I saw it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, how
How'd
did
they
you
get
guys
all
get
this?
this stuff? Because it was so
They just asked nice-
authentic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure they just asked really nice, and I gave it. Yeah.
Which is the tradition.
But you asked
Yes.
what was concept art, and
Yes.
I didn't really give a full explanation. So
Mhm.
just to explain it simply,
Okay.
a concept artist or concept designer, same thing,
Uh-huh.
is it's a they're a member of, like, when you make a game or a movie, you have something called pre-production.
Yeah.
So production is when you're filming it,
Yeah.
or you're making it,
Mhm.
or assets or whatever is being
Mhm.
made. Pre-production is when you're planning it,
Mhm.
you're thinking about it,
Mhm.
you're creating design documents, whatever, creating a script. That's pre-production.
Yes.
So a concept artist is a part of the pre-production.
Uh-huh.
They create images based off of what the designers or the director or whomever, what they're imagining. So,
Yes.
for example, you're Stanley Kubrick,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say Ridley Scott, because I'm
Mhm.
thinking about Alien.
Yeah.
And
He's from East St. Louis.
oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
That's
At least I
crazy.
think he is.
Well, let's hope so. But you're Ridley Scott,
Uh-huh.
and you're making Alien, but you're thinking to yourself like, oh, we got to make these costumes, and I don't want to make like 11 costumes trying to
Indeed.
figure out what the alien looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What we need to do is hire an artist. They hire an artist, and we say we want an alien, and we want it to be black, we want it to be
Mhm.
tall, but we're not really sure, menacing. And then the artist takes those ideas and creates a design,
Yeah.
sort of head to toe, kind of
Uh-huh.
outlining sort of the major design elements of this creature. So he's gonna have a long head. Like there's gonna be, they wanted a thing to shoot out. They
Oh,
wanted acid. This is how the
wow.
acid's gonna look like. This is how
Yeah.
the alien mothership is gonna look like. This is what the baby alien's gonna look like. Because they have to. It takes a long time to make these props, but it's a lot faster to make a drawing. So you make those drawings. Those drawings make it back to the director. Director has some notes. You revise. You agree on a final design. That design goes to pre-production. Set designers and the costume designers are making costumes based off those designs, and that continues and continues. So like you're thinking about everything.
Oh my
from-
gosh, I
Yeah.
get it. But that would not necessarily be a prototype.
You're sort of prototyping something.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it's not
Okay.
gonna make it in the final thing, and
It's
that's
just going to give them a
Yeah.
really, really
A
good,
really good idea.
Because
They're
once the
basically
designers
taking
get
it,
to it,
yeah.
and then they might
Mhm.
tweak a little something here, but this is the
Yeah.
foundation of their idea that they can see in an
Mhm.
actual drawing. Wow.
and maybe you're asked to do some illustration
Uh
work,
huh. Uh huh.
but that's your job, is to design and create the thing.
Based on an
Oh,
idea, based on
then-
talking with them.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
And it is really cool. But in games, it's like the same idea, but you just take it and you make a game, right? So like, it might be you're creating a character,
Uh-huh.
a character sheet. So like front and then side, and then maybe like different accessories the character has. In 3D, the character artist, who's a 3D modeler, will take that character and basically copy that into a 3D model, which is really cool. And then that gets into the
Wow.
yeah.
And you knew you wanted to do this before you even went to college. You
Yeah,
knew what this was
yeah.
all about.
My dad told me a lot to like look things up. So when I wanted to draw, I looked it up, which was
Yeah.
really good because at that time you had YouTube, and so you could look up how to draw. There's an artist by the name of Mark Crilly who went to school at Kalamazoo College, which I got to meet him. I think it
Awesome.
was when I was in middle school, but he taught me like he was helped me with those initial. How do you draw this? How do you draw that? This is how you want to think about it. And I was even before I came to Kalamazoo, so I was like a luck sort of thing. And then when I was a
Wow.
little older,
Yes.
I got into concept art because um, I had known that concept art existed. I didn't know it was a job. And when I was relearning how to draw, I came across this other artist named Cynics,
Uh-huh.
and he um, he was a concept artist, and he was explaining his job, and I thought it was really cool that you are essentially designing characters that go into these different things.
Characters that have never existed until you drew
Exactly.
them. They
Yeah.
were only ideas in somebody's
Exactly.
head, and then you
Mhm.
brought it to life. Oh
And
my
you're
gosh.
solving problems. It's fun. It's like you're an engineer, but no one's life is at stake. Like nothing's gonna like blow up. Or, no, your building is gonna it doesn't have to be
Yes.
like sound. I think one of those stories. I got a lot of stories from Ricardo, my
Uh-huh.
professor, about
Uh-huh.
the stuff he's done. So there's a Netflix series called I don't know if I could say this because it has it has one of those uh, I don't know, one of those words you're not supposed to say on a podcast, but it's called Love. Um, yeah, I think it's called Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, Love, Death, and Robots.
okay.
I was thinking something else. Love, Death, and Robots. It's an anthology series. Basically, Netflix hires a bunch of animation studios to like make little shorts about love, death, or robots. A lot of robot stuff though.
What a cool idea.
Yeah.
Isn't it great to be alive
It's a great time.
today? Oh my gosh, it
Yeah.
is so wonderful.
No, it's
If
great.
I
I
could
think you
get
should
people to
watch.
step outside their comfort zones and just embrace
Mm.
life and to really look inside, you looked inside and you said, no, I don't want to do that. I tried it. I don't want to do it. I don't want. This is what I want. And when you talk about it, your eyes just light up. So
Yeah.
I know this is you. Yes.
I just didn't want a boring job, honestly.
I tell you. Me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself?
Where do I see myself?
Uh-huh. I see you. Woo! But you got to see it too. So where do
Ah.
you see yourself?
Like in a couple of years?
Whenever.
That's a good question. I like a lot of the stories that my professor told me. I really liked the way he solves problems. I think
Yeah.
I want to be able to solve problems through art, I guess.
Oh.
Kind of get into like a designer's headspace. For example, he was explaining to us how like for one of the scenes in the short he was working on,
Yeah.
it was like the Night of the Mini Dead it was called,
Ooh.
and it was just like zombies, but everyone's small and like you're kind of it's sped up, right? So it's like a little funny gags. And so he was telling the team about this sort of camera technique where you make things look really small. I think you see it on like BBC, where like everything looks like miniature and like
Yeah.
models.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself like that's kind of what I want to get into, like solving problems through art. How do I, for example, if I want to make a character that represents, I don't know, this African country, or they're from like Turkey or Brazil, like how do I put that in a character design without telling you that's a Brazilian or that's someone from Turkey. Um,
So amazing. Oh my God. My mind is going 30 miles an hour. That would be so cool to
Yeah.
represent different countries and
different ideas.
different ideas. And I'm a writer, so every time you say something, I'm like putting it into a story
Yeah.
and creating the scene around it
exactly.
and all. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Go on.
Well, even I really want to. I also want to be like an artist that says something with their art, that has a message or like a theme.
Hmm.
I've been really interested in like Basquiat.
Basket. You know, I
Yeah.
was gonna call him Bisquick for a
Biscuit.
minute. That's exactly so. It's like
Yeah.
our minds were one. That
Mhm.
happens sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the same
That's how you
thing
connect.
I was thinking just as you said it, and
Yeah.
that's what I see you.
That's
I
fair.
see you 20 years from now. Oh, that's that lady I was on the podcast with.
Well, I hope I make it
Because
past.
you're like, whoa, up there. And I'm like, I got that podcast of him. People,
Right.
no, you don't. No, you don't.
Well, I hope I live longer than
Awesome.
Basquiat too. But
Yeah, yeah, you will. No, no, no. I just see you on a trajectory. Ugh. Because
long,
that's where,
prosperous life.
yeah, technology is
Yeah.
the future,
But here's
and
the-
you're on the cutting edge of it.
I try my best.
Yes.
I'm no Basquiat yet.
No, no, no.
Gotta get
In a
there.
whole other way.
Yeah.
Did you see the Black Mirror? Did you ever look at Black Mirror?
I did. Yeah.
Did you see the episode with the bees?
I did. I don't remember it very well.
That episode stopped me from looking at Black Mirror. The bees were
Mm.
eat small, tiny, 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 electronically controlled
Yeah.
bees, and they would get into people's orifices there.
Oh, like the
The-
murderer, the bees.
Yes.
Mm.
And the woman was in the bathroom trying to shut everything so the
Right.
bees would not attack. See, I get chills. Just no, not chills, but
Mm.
bricks. Just thinking about that episode,
Right.
it was so scary.
Mm.
And I'm sure that was all technology, the kind
Yeah.
of technology you're talking about.
So, I mean, I think what's so interesting about Black Mirror, especially in those early days, is that how I think there's this sense that it's sort of predicting things, but it's also looking back and using these sort of science fiction tropes to talk about like our modern day issues. Remember, there's
Mhm.
this one episode where this guy he would play this VR game where he would normally he was a nice guy, but in the VR game he was very abusive.
I saw that.
Yep.
Is that the
Yeah.
one where he was going to bed with his wife and then he had a relationship with the guy?
No.
Oh, there was another one.
That was a
Oh
different
my
one.
God, that was a
But
different one.
This
Okay.
was a newer one, but
Okay.
I liked this. Really reminded me of some of the older episodes where like
Okay.
he was very abusive to these characters, but they weren't real. They were AI essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
But they were real enough,
Uh-huh.
at least in the story, where it's like, no, this is more of a metaphor for real life abuse. This guy who's somewhere out, someone else with different people. He's a great person.
Yes, yes.
But with the people his victims, he's a tyrant. It's weird to think that even the worst people, I guess, can go home and I guess be good fathers, but terrible people.
Have to take on a
Yeah.
different personality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a way for them to do it. Did you see no, I don't want to go there. We only have a few minutes left because I could talk to you about so many different
understand.
things. This is so wonderful. Do you talk to young people
Do I talk
about
to young
following? Yes.
people? I mean, I talk to my friends who are pretty young.
No, young
but
people.
like my brothers.
Like high schoolers,
cousins.
junior high schoolers,
Like the
middle
Ah,
schoolers.
Not generally. No.
They need to hear your story. So
Ah.
many people need to hear your story.
I feel
Where
like-
do you think,
Mhm.
how do you think AI is going to impact what you do?
How it's gonna impact the art?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in the middle of that, so it's hard to make any predictions. But I think really soon we're gonna have to figure out what is art for exactly, because I guess you could say if you're just trying to make a sort of pretty image, acceptable image, I guess AI does an okay job at it sometimes. But if we're making art to connect to other people to know that we're not alone, I don't think it does a very good job of that. It doesn't actually think through. It doesn't make decisions. It doesn't
Yes.
design. It
Yes.
just takes. As of right now, and so I would be more concerned if I was like a programmer. My friend's like a computer scientist right now, and
Okay.
he was talking about how difficult it was for him, but I think people still want art made by people.
People who feel.
People who feel.
You can
With purpose.
sense when
Mm.
you go to a gallery and you see a piece of art, there's something that connects with you, like we were connecting about
Mhm.
the artist. Bis-
Basquiat.
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 Basquiat. Biscuit. Basquiat.
think you
We
say
were that
Mhm.
was
It's a moment.
an energy,
Yeah.
exchange between two people, not a person and a machine.
Well,
And when you go to an art and you see a picture, you go
Mhm.
to the art institute and you see a picture, you're connecting with the essence of the person that created that, I believe.
yeah, and even getting into Basquiat, I think the reason why he connected so well with people is that he had a purpose, but also every symbol, people don't realize this, but the symbols he put in had meanings. Like they weren't just random scratches. These were purposeful things. I think he had a book. I heard the story that he bought 2 books, and one of them was a symbol book. And he would include symbols, one of them being like man dies, predicting his own death. That he felt like he was a dead man walking. And so I think with a lot of art, like even the ones that we don't think have meaning to them have purpose.
Yes.
And AI at this point has no thoughts or purpose or emotions in that way. And so I think in that way it's like a lesser form
Yeah.
of art, if you could say that.
It has no soul.
It has no soul.
It has no
And people-
spirit that connects
Yeah.
with other spirits.
Well, people know that. I mean, people
Yeah.
can sense that,
Yes.
and so I'm not worried. I think some of the people who are worried, I'm like, is your art good enough to beat the AI?
You
Sometimes
don't
I gotta-
say
I
that.
gotta
You
I gotta
just
think
think
about that
it.
for myself. I'm like, is my art? And I think I am.
Yes.
I'm putting because some people draw without any purpose behind it, and that's. And I think if you're drawing with meaning, you're drawing with purpose. You have your own ideas. Like
You have your own voice.
Your own voice.
You
You'll
have your
beat
own
the AI.
voice that speaks to
Mm.
other voices and to other hearts. That is so beautiful.
Mm.
Having a purpose, that you're doing things with a purpose. You're doing something with a thought behind
Yeah.
it, with a deeper meaning.
Mm.
It's not just about creating a character. Even if they give you the ideas, this character still has to have a soul,
Yeah.
something that even like you were talking about Mario. I know Mario through my grandchildren. They love Mario.
Yeah.
But Mario has an
He has
essence.
the essence. He has a soul behind him.
Yes, a soul
Even a
behind
story.
him.
Yeah.
Yes, that backstory.
Mm.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having that conversation with me, for being open enough to just talk with this crazy old lady that approached you at the KIA. And we just started a conversation. I was like, oh, I would love to have you on my podcast. And you were like, sure.
Well,
And here we are
I'm glad to be here.
for 2 hours,
Mm.
2 segments. Guys out there, the clock on the wall says that's all, y'all. But this has been such an engaging, deep, spiritual conversation. Not just conversation, but experience for me. Connecting on so many levels, on so many topics, heart to heart in so many ways with David today. And I appreciate you. I just want you to
Oh,
know
thank
how
you.
deeply I appreciate you.
I appreciate
And I
you too.
know you're going places. I know you're humble, but
Mhm.
you're full.
Yeah.
And I think that humility is a part of that fullness that brings you full circle. Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Remember, Tell your story. Get to know somebody else's story because it's our stories that connect us and keep community alive. Have a good day. Bye bye.